Hello and welcome to In the Weeds. We're recording live from the Picky Weeds Esoterica Cult Boutique, located just south of Clark Summit, Pennsylvania, in beautiful South Abington Township. Picky Weeds is the largest and most diverse boutique of its kind in Northeast Pennsylvania, with an increasingly wide variety of items for many traditions.
In addition to items for sale, Picky Weeds hosts a wide variety of classes, events, and community-driven gatherings throughout the year. Picky Weeds is located at 105 Layton Road, South Abington Township, PA. Open Wednesday through Sunday, 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. More information can be found at www.pickyweeds.com. That's PICKEYWEEDZ.com, or on our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. In the Weeds is the official podcast for Picky Weeds, where we strive to bring the community together with topics of interest, guest speakers, and informative discussions to benefit the entire community.
If you'd like to be a guest speaker, either live or remote call-in, please visit www.pickyweeds.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the page, find In the Weeds podcast guest application, click it, copy and paste the text into an email with your contact information, and send it to us at pickyweeds@gmail.com.
Now let's get in the weeds.
Good morning, everybody. We're back. It's season 3, episode 1. We took a little bit of a break. New Year's was a little bit much. I think everybody is just exhausted. It's been such a frenetic pace, the past 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And I just think everybody needs to go in their corner and sit and face the wall and maybe cry a little and let it all out, you know? Because I see so much turmoil and angst around everything. So I just want to say, let it go, let it go.
Yeah, this too shall pass.
Yes, it shall.
Yeah.
I don't care what they tell you, it'll pass.
I mean, it's similar to people that are coming up with government conspiracies. The government is out. Do you think the government is that capable?
They're not that smart.
Have you seen the government?
I've worked with them before. They're not that smart.
Oh, my God. You give them far too much credit.
You really do.
They're
the biggest bunch of bumbling idiots I've ever met in my life.
Well, now that the government is oligarch.
Mm-hmm. Now you have yes men.
Yeah, bootlickers
yes,
galore.
Sir, I want your money. Yes, sir, I do. Yes, sir, I'll do anything you say. I'll say anything you want. I just want your money.
Or your favor.
Or your favor.
Yeah.
Well, favor equates to money in that circle.
This is true.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a clown show.
Look, guys, don't let it get in your head. That's exactly what they want. When you're fearful and you're constantly worried about what's next, or if they're going to kill us all, or if they're spraying toxins in the air, and that's exactly where they want you. They want you fearful. They want you to stay home and go to work and go home and go to work and go home and be fearful.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want you controlled.
It's a big holding your fingers, whistling. Look over here.
Yeah.
Look over here.
Do not acquiesce. Don't ever acquiesce.
No.
Never bend that knee. Never.
Well, they're all about the dollar.
And it's both sides.
No.
Yeah, it's not Republican or Democrat. It is both damn sides.
Yeah.
And the craziness I've seen from both sides lately is just, I hate to say this, I wish I were shocked.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Kind of numb to it.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. And I think that's bad that we're numb to it.
But at the same time, I'm numb to their distractions,
yes.
too.
Yeah.
Like, UFOs? Sweet.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Those are ours. What was I saying the entire time? Those are ours.
Yeah, I don't
Those
care.
are our drones.
I don't give a shit.
I'm looking at them going, they're military grade. I've seen this before. These are our drones. Yeah.
I care about the plans to cut benefits from our veterans. The plans to cut benefits from, our elders and for the generations to come. Things that they've paid in their Social Security their whole life. Things that they earned by signing their commitment
literally
to the armed forces to
the
protect this country.
To die for us.
And then what's the reward when they get back?
They get the benefits cut. There was a guy at Walgreens in North Carolina, I guess it was, yesterday, and he was wearing the whole Daddy's Home shirt and MAGA hat and the whole 9 yards, and he goes up with his TRICARE card. And the Walgreens pharmacist said, you're probably going to get a letter within the month that we're not going to be supporting TRICARE anymore at Walgreens. You're probably going to get a letter. I just wanted to let you know ahead of time that you need to start searching, for other pharmacies like CVS or maybe some of the small mom and pop pharmacies. And there's even mail-in. And he got irate. He's like, but I'm a soldier, You're supposed to afford me my benefits, blah, blah, blah. Kind of just went off the rails. And she's like, look, you voted for it.
Yeah.
You voted for this, and that was their plan all along.
It's a big thing of buyer beware.
Yeah.
It wasn't even in fine print. It was in flashing neon letters, and everybody was yelling it at you.
Yeah.
And you still voted for it.
And guys, that's not left or right. That's not left or right politics. That's corporate politics.
Well, and it's personal exceptionalism too.
Yeah.
Right. So
we see that in this.
A lot of this came out, and they supported racist and bigoted, misogynistic ideology, and this guy was running his fucking dick sucker about shit. Sorry.
Yeah.
And it gave them courage.
Yes.
Now I feel vindicated to be a piece of shit because this guy is an even bigger piece of shit.
It's like the bully on the football field when you're in like 7th, 8th grade and you just started playing and one starts it and then there's this whole like cavalcade of people just piling on and look at the geek, look at the nerd trying to say, that kind of attitude.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the geek 10 years later.
Owns your ass. You owe everything to those billionaires. Yeah. Guys.
Yeah.
But keep running your mouth by all means. While they pick your pockets too. You think you're smart. You're not so smart.
It's just, it ties into the exceptionalism.
Yeah.
You feel superior to someone and that makes you feel superior to the rest of us.
Yeah.
Because of your ideology. And that kind of ties into something else we wanted to talk about.
Oh my God. Indigo Children, Starseeds.
For fuck's sakes.
Yeah.
If I hear that shit one more fucking time with people that I don't know if you just don't know the history of it.
They don't.
Or
it's in the popular vernacular. It's not well known.
Yeah, the term Starseeds, Indigo Child, Moon Child, people with magic powers.
Yeah, superhumans.
The superior race. Does that sound like something?
Does that sound familiar? I want to know
if they're deeply connected.
Yes, they are.
The whole Starseeds movement, goes back to like the fucking 1800s or some shit.
Absolutely. Blavatsky, Steiner,
Golden Dawn. Even Crowley was in the shit.
Mm-hmm.
And look, I like a lot of Crowley's writings, but when he goes into that kind of shit, really, dude. And it started kind of in the UFO mythology, right? Back in like 1880. And, people are always trying to be superior to their fellow man. I guess, I don't know if it's a human trait.
It is.
To be better than you,
But you want to feel different.
Yeah. And the esoteric is about the elevation of self, but it's not supposed to have anything to do with other people. It's you competing with your former self, making you a better person, making you closer to the divine. That doesn't mean you're divine.
No, not at all. But they get that way, and they think that way.
One of the biggest things you have to learn, one of the first things you have to learn is to kill the ego.
Absolutely.
If you don't keep that ego in check, then you run into the danger of, developing this kind of thinking. And
Absolutely.
It ends in a fall off a cliff.
And it's detrimental because it pulls us apart instead of bringing us together.
Well, but people that believe it, they believe it wholeheartedly, and they live their lives according to that tenet that I'm superior. They're talking to me.
I'm not from here.
I'm special.
I come from another dimension.
Then those people hit the wall of reality eventually.
Yeah.
And it is psychologically shattering.
Yes, it is.
To realize that, hey, you're no better than the rest of us.
Yes.
You're the same as you still bleed red.
That love and light
when you're cut.
Positivity is toxic.
You're not a better version of the species.
Mm-mm.
Okay, and that goes into like this whole Aryan crap, white supremacy, anti-Semitism.
Or thinking you're fey.
It's just example after example after example of you trying to be exceptional compared to your fellow humans.
Yeah.
And you may be better at math
Yeah.
than someone else, but someone else would be better at math than you.
Yeah.
It goes on and whatever subject you want to get into.
Look,
But,
Susie and Billy, you're better at math, but he's better at art.
my
You know?
sister, she has gifts. No, the fuck she doesn't.
Everybody can do it.
Yeah,
Some to more degree than others because of, I'm going to tell you the truth, especially pianists, especially musicians. 10,000 hours of practice makes a master.
Yeah, and then you have those people that are elevated in skill.
Yes.
You have prodigies. You have
Yeah.
you have people that
They have better
two
dexterity,
people
better
took
memory.
the exact same amount of lesson hours, but one is dramatically better. Well, that
Yes.
could be a genetic thing. It doesn't have anything to do with your race.
No.
It has things to do with your grandparents,
Yeah.
maybe, and your great grandparents.
And your grandparents all hailed
you
from
know.
one locality in Africa many, 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 many,
Yeah.
many, many thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, and people boil it down to I'm better than everybody else, or I have special gifts, or I'm special. I'm an indigo child. No, the fuck you're not.
No, you're not from
There's no
somewhere
such
else.
thing as this nonsense.
You're from here and you were born here.
And it runs you into the ground. You
Yeah.
will eventually hit the reality wall, and it is earth shattering. I've seen it time and time again, where people just damn their life to hell and burn every fucking bridge they have because they're so convinced that they are the one.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to heal these people. Well, you need to heal yourself first. Esoteric is about the self, elevating the self closer to the divine, searching for answers, being a seeker of knowledge, listening and learning, making mistakes and learning from them. It's the human experience, basically.
Yes.
But you're studying things that maybe are outside the realm of the mundane life.
The normal day-to-day guys. Yeah, it's not. And
Doesn't make you better.
I want to ask a question of you, and I want you to think about it. How is saying that I'm an indigo child or a starseed any different than saying I'm a German member of the super race?
It's the same thing.
It's
It's
exactly
exact
the
same thing.
Still divisive and still detrimental to the health of the tribe. So those of you who think you have special gifts, you know what you're supposed to do with those is not laud them over other people, but help your brothers and sisters with them. Because what makes a tribe and makes it cohesive and makes it healthy is when people bring their gifts together and use them in unison.
I mean, I kind of see where some people fall into the trap where, and we see it, people from all walks of life.
Yeah.
We don't look at you any differently. And I don't think you should, because
No.
everyone has their own struggles. Everyone starts life with a different set of stats, so
Yes.
to speak.
Yes.
And some of us had to
That's a
work
good way to put it.
a lot harder to get a lot less than other people, where other people have excelled because, well, they had the financial backing.
Yeah.
They came from money. They came from influence.
Had the educational benefit.
So they got a head start on everything. That doesn't mean you can't make it if you started off, below grade,
Yeah.
or below the mark, where you struggled to do things. There are hundreds and hundreds of stories of success of people that, well, it's not just hard work, it's luck too, but
Yeah.
they made their own luck. They put themselves in the right positions, in the right places, and with the right people to get lucky,
And my people farm the land.
Yeah, mine too.
So we were tenant farmers a lot, and we had our own little piece, but it wasn't enough to be a major farmer, so we were tenant farmers.
Yeah.
And we worked the land, and we put down roots, and they all stayed in one place. I was different. I had a different aim in life. I didn't want to be stuck there forever.
Well,
I wanted to see things and learn things and meet new people and be, learn about different cultures. I think it was more about cultures for me than it was anything else, because I was just fascinated by people from different traditions.
And I think that's a genetic thing too.
Yeah.
You probably look in your ancestors, you'll probably find an ancestor.
Yeah, I was from nomadic people.
That
Yeah.
spurred off of the
Yeah.
main flow. And that's just a personality trait.
Yeah.
That's not better or worse.
No, it's just different.
Because the world needs people that do all those things, in addition to those that are drawn to the intellectual.
And we need to stop sickening each other even more by, our spiritual blindness, because what we do when somebody's hurting is, I've heard this many times, and I'm going to tell you, when you do this in front of me, my impetus to choke you is very, very, very strong. When you come at somebody who's suffering with love and light tactics and telling them that they need to just be positive and they need to be love and light. Why can't you shut up and just listen to the person? Because the damage you just did to that person is that they're seeing you and they're wondering how you've got your shit so together while their shit's falling apart. And you've given them much more depression and anxiety than you can ever understand. So please just stop it.
And can we all admit
spiritual psychosis.
that the person that is looking shiny and everything together,
it's all a facade.
In the reality, that's just theater.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like Facebook. Somebody said to me the other day, but they look so happy on Facebook. I said, everybody looks happy on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's a facade.
Yeah.
Don't ever fall for that. Everybody's like, I had a friend take an awful picture of me. Emma, I'm talking to you. You took an awful picture of me and you posted it. And I'm like, but I laughed because it was like me being goofy. I'm okay with that because I don't ever want that facade out here that I'm this beautiful, angelic light in the room and that I'm perfect and unapproachable. I don't ever want that out there. I want it to be, you can approach me. This is who I am. You see me for exactly who I am. And I don't ever want somebody to look at a picture of me on the internet and think, wow, she's so far above me.
Oh my God, we're so flawed. Everyone's flawed. And if anyone tries to convince you otherwise, they're just bullshitting.
Yeah.
Don't let that hurt your psyche.
It's such horse shit.
But the problem with this whole Starseeds movement, and this whole Indigo Child and the whole I have powers mantra, it is so damaging to the person that said it. It's damaging to the people that Bella has something in her mouth.
Drop it.
And she's being a jerk.
Yes, she is. I'm going to have to go. I will be right back.
Piece of that.
I will go get something that doesn't rattle. Just carry on with Starseeds. Go on.
I told you we need to shut the door because she goes a-wandering.
She got that in here. I know what it is.
Her whole game is to find something on the floor and see if she can get paid for it. But, yeah, so it's so frustrating and it's so hard on people that are trying to make it, and especially if you started from the bottom and you're trying to grind your way up and you're seeing all these people with the fancy cars and you go on TikTok and you see people with supercars and they're in their 20s. Those people had a head start. Those people had things that worked out in their favor before they got going, and they had the financial backing. They had the way to get ahead rather than the majority of us that started out as farmers, started out as not being able to do anything. I worked minimum wage jobs most of my life, until I put myself in the right position to get lucky. But even then, it's not guaranteed. You just have to keep working at it and grinding, so to speak. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, did you get the thing out of her mouth?
I did.
Okay. Is she looking for another one right now?
And there was no treats, so I had to open your bag and give her a rice cake.
Oh my God! But so I just the whole you see people repeat it. They'll say these things and, well, my sister's a starseed or whatever, and it's innocent, right? They don't think anything of it because they're not aware of the history of that term, and they don't mean anything by it. But the problem is that perpetuates it.
Yes, right? It does.
And it keeps it going. And really, it's just a simple Google search. And there's so much information out there, not only debunking it, but telling you where it came from.
Yes.
And the ugly history of it.
Yes.
You may not have a racist bone in your body. You just want to declare yourself that you feel like you're a magic worker.
Yeah.
And that word sounds magical, and I'll use it.
Yeah, it sounds pretty.
But to those of us that know where that term comes from,
we flinch.
We look at you a little differently.
Yeah, we do. We kind of wonder.
Yeah,
I mean, because you don't ever really know.
I mean, even H.G. Wells wrote about it. There's one in his book, Star Begotten. It's from 1937. It's where a scientist starts to believe that an alien civilization is beaming rays onto Earth to alter the genetics of humanity. and these humans are star-begotten, a superior species spawned by
Hear
extraterrestrial
the word
rays
superior?
who will save the planet from catastrophe. This explains why a few people are so much smarter and more visionary than the masses.
Oh, the savior complex.
And the hero exclaims in this book, I hate common humanity, this oafish crowd which tramples the ground, whence my cloud-capped pinnacles might rise. I am tired of humanity beyond measure. Take it away. Clear the earth of them.
Yes,
Do you hear the dangerous words in there?
that's how it starts.
That is exactly how it
Is
starts.
that I'm here to save humanity, but then humanity's not worth saving because they're so beneath me.
You know, and look, we
Yeah.
meet people from all walks of life. There are people that walk in with very minimal education, very minimal life experience outside of 30 square miles of the Scranton area.
And I love them.
You know, they're sweet people,
Yeah.
but they don't have world experience.
They also don't have the jade on them that so many older users
but
do.
magic and the occult is a draw because it makes them feel superior.
Yeah, special.
I finally have something that makes me better than the person that had money and influence. And so they'll come in, I need a spell. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't want to hear it, right? You know, the thing that you need to do is actually devote yourself to the practice. You don't start this practice by casting spells like you're Sabrina.
No.
You start this practice by learning, by making mistakes, by sitting, reading the right things.
By fomenting relationships with the ancestors and the gods.
Find yourself a mentor that's
Yeah.
qualified.
Yeah.
And there you have to be very cautious because there is a
Yes.
lot of charlatans.
Oh, God.
Not just in this area, but all over the world.
We've seen so many.
You know, so you have to examine your potential mentor just as harshly as maybe they might examine you.
Oh, yeah.
It needs to be a two-way street. It's very like interviewing for a career level position. You need to interview your potential boss and take a look at the company and their history before you sign on the dotted line. And I get it. We've all taken those jobs because we needed to pay the bills.
Oh, yeah.
And then immediately start job hunting afterwards. Look, for a spiritual mentor, you need to take your time.
Yeah. Interview
And
them.
Don't sign up for anything. It shouldn't cost you any money. If there's any monetary exchange with a mentor that lives here near you, you need to run.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be any money exchange whatsoever. A minute money comes into it, other than you leaving money as a sacrifice or an offering to your ancestors or to the deities that you feel drawn to, money exchange between humans should never be in exchange for spiritual practice.
The only thing you should ever pay for is their written work and their class, their online work, the classes and stuff like that. That's
I could
it.
see, okay, so like the one exception, like say the Rosicrucians,
Yeah.
which have a fantastic library. They've done a tremendous amount of work, and there's a membership fee.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm talking about the random person.
You're talking about the guy with the goat that wants $800 to remove a curse from
that
you.
kind of
Yeah.
bullshit.
Okay.
There should never be that kind
Just
of
so we're
exchange.
clear. Yeah.
I mean, initiates in our tradition basically did a lot of the grunt work. They carried the most of the supplies to ritual. They prepped the ritual site.
But we
this
were
is-
never charged for
This is all modes of instruction.
levels
though.
like we were in a video game. Never.
You're learning how to prepare the area for a working. You're learning where to put what candle, where to put what incense, and where to put it. It's all education. It's not as a punishment.
This is not to say we didn't look at you sideways if you didn't contribute to the funds for the feast after the ritual. If you didn't contribute to the ritual for, helping purchase candles and incense and stuff like that. Whatever the offerings
Yeah.
were. We would look at you sideways because it's all part of it. Everybody's supposed to contribute. But I think what John's intimating is that our purchase price was to be, you did all the work, you did all the cleaning, all the setup, all the grunt work, all the caring, all of that to learn.
Yeah, it's part of the
Yeah, it's part of it.
sacrifice.
Yeah.
You're giving to the group.
Yeah.
Your work and your time. You're not just take. And it's the same with a relationship with deity.
Yeah.
It's the same with a relationship with your ancestors. You don't just take. You have to give as much as you take, if not more. It's an exchange,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it is not a money exchange. I'm not paying you $500 to learn how to light a candle.
No.
Run away as fast as you possibly can.
When you run across that, yes.
The work is yours to do. And, we can give you a guideline as far as like these authors or these books might give you a good clue. And maybe you click or you don't click with those, and maybe you need something else. That's fine. And there's other people in this area that are practiced that know what they're talking about. There's also a lot of predatory behavior in this area too. So you have to weigh it with a Siberian salt mine.
It's everywhere.
When someone is telling you something.
Well, you got to look at it like this. In the old day, we'd look at snake oil salesmen, preachers. What we now call energy healing, they used to be called laying on of hands.
Yeah.
And they had a whole shtick. Like they would pick predestined people in the crowd to have them fall out in the name of Christ in front of you and shake and tremble and their body jump all over the floor.
Yep.
So you would think that they were the real deal. You have the same with mediums. They have preset people sometimes in the crowd. And it looks miraculous when they know every single detail. Or they've gone and done their research prior to the show. And they already know a lot of your background about you, so they can pick out things that you would think that they wouldn't know, that only you would know. But they have scoured your social media. And let me tell you something. John was a detective, a private investigator. And I used to travel with him, and I used to do a lot of his background research. You'd be amazed what I can find out about you with a simple search. Mm-hmm. With a simple search, some very, very detailed things, because unfortunately, most of us are idiots, and we put it out there on social media.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But even if you don't, I can dig you up.
Yeah.
You're there. All of us are there. Our details are there. Where we come from, who our parents were, where we were born, our education, it's there.
Yep.
And I can find it.
And the internet's forever.
Yeah, yeah.
You can delete it. Somebody's got a screenshot of it somewhere.
And it's really not. Those details like that held by states and counties are not deleted.
No, God, no.
Yeah. So.
No, those are public records.
Can't scour everything.
Even, But, when it was swinging back, like, the history of this stuff, like, I don't know if anybody's heard of Madame Blavatsky.
Yes.
This crazy bitch.
Oh, my God.
So, she had a new religious movement back in, like, the 1870s called Theosophy. It is a synthesis of science and occult wisdom. And basically, her claim was that evolution was a progressive spiritual process guided by a handful of superhuman beings called, quote unquote, the masters.
Yeah.
Some of whom lived on Earth and some on other planets. She claimed that humanity had evolved for millions of years through various root races, including the Lemurians, the Atlanteans, and the present dominant race, the Aryans. Yeah. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, come on, people. Yeah. But I gotta interject here. Hold your spot. That most of what you practice now in New Age spirituality came from 3 different sects. It came from Gnosticism, Freemasonry, and Theosophy.
Yeah.
Vis-a-vis Blavatsky.
And funny enough, she was scornful of Anglo-Saxons, and she considered the masters to be Indian.
Yeah, yeah.
And you see a lot of hero worship with Indian gurus.
Yes.
And Indian culture.
Yes.
And it is an ancient culture.
And they have maintained it. They have maintained their written
Sanskrit
documentation.
Thousands of years old, and their rituals are thousands of years old. And unlike so many, it was written down.
Yeah.
But
I think that's the draw.
Tendency for an Indian person to become a guru, and for people in the Western areas of the world to just believe it because, well, they're Indian.
Yeah.
So they must be true.
Yeah.
No, it's not. So
he's not actually levitating.
Remember, the esoteric, the occult, the study of, this is supposed to be you elevating yourself, not above humanity, but above your old self. Yeah. If you look at the Baphomet, salve coagula, and it's an alchemical reference. In order to grow, you must first break the old one. Yeah. You have to break what you used to be, break it, and shatter it, and to develop into the new you.
Break it down.
You are. It does not mean that you are superior to the rest of humanity.
No.
It means you are superior to your old self.
Absolutely.
It is not about you being better than your friends, or better than your family, or better than everyone you meet in every day. It is not about that. And that's where so many people screw up, and they have a hard time expressing their interest in the occult with their family, because maybe their family is of an Abrahamic religion and thinks they're a devil worshiper.
Yeah.
And so you start to feel exceptional.
Yeah.
You know, I feel different. I'm a rebel, blah, blah. And I guess in that kind of sense, maybe you are feeling like that, right?
Yeah. It's exciting.
But
yeah.
remember, you're not better than them. Even though they're practicing something that you don't find remotely intellectual or academic. I mean, talking snakes and bushes and drinking blood and eating flesh every, other Sunday or whatever.
God,
you do.
carving commandments.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
But that is their spiritual path.
Yeah.
And if that brings them comfort, that's their business. The problem is when they try to force you to abide by their own
vice
practice.
versa.
And vice versa.
So when they walk in here, depending on the religion they are, everything we talk about is tailored to them. It's not about me. It's not about what I believe.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
One thing that's private, because that's ours.
Yeah.
And you're not entitled to know it. It's not an exceptionalism. It's personal. Yeah. Not everything needs to be public knowledge.
No.
And the same goes for your own personal practice. It's personal. It's nobody's business but yours. And the path is your path to personal enlightenment, not enlightenment over every other person. I'm a starseed. You're a normal human.
Yes, you didn't come from anywhere else.
And that's
I
really
can prove you were born right here.
Really not far away from referencing pigment.
Yeah. No, it's the same.
And color.
There is no difference. Yeah.
It is not a stretch. Okay. And that's where a lot of this stuff went to. So when we cringe, when you say you're a starseed or your sister has powers,
or you're an indigo child,
this is why.
Yeah.
It all has links to racism, and just horrible nonsense that's just based on bullshit.
Yeah.
And we had a guy who thought the flagpole in Clark Summit was an antenna for the Atlanteans or Lemurians. That's not really. Can you see the ships? No, motherfucker, I don't see the ships. I see you're fucking nuts. And you've fallen prey to the shit. And it fucks your whole mind up.
And he was pointing around. He actually saw something.
It was okay, dude, I can give a pass for those with having, developmental issues or mental issues, or maybe they're having a psychotic break, or, people go through all kinds of rough patches. And
yes.
I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, really.
No.
But when you're so insistent and trying to push other people to agree with you so you have validation, you need to talk to Brandon or another, Puglisi counseling.
Yes.
Talk to somebody that's there, trained to help you work your way out of it, because it is a mind trap. And when you start walking through life, I need to go there so I can heal them.
Yeah. Yeah, don't do that.
No.
They didn't ask you, and that's painful.
You need to heal yourself.
Yeah.
Heal yourself.
Stop praying for me.
And ask yourself why you think you're so exceptional that they need you to come down there and tell them, what you think.
Why can't you just be a shoulder and an ear?
Just
how is that hard?
Put some elbow grease into it. Go down if they need help moving something, or go get them groceries or something like that. Is what you should be focused on.
Can I get a witness?
Rather than imparting your divine wisdom.
Yeah.
I'm here to heal you because I'm a starseed from the alien blah, blah, fuck you.
Yeah, no, you're not.
It is so narcissistic and so arrogant and so ugly. And it is a mind trap. You get caught in it, and these people truly believe
that they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it hurts the community. So when you're like us and you're trying to be community builders, and you see this stuff on the daily, and you realize that's what's tearing your community apart, that and fundamentalist religions are tearing your community apart. Oh God, it's so frustrating on a daily basis. I can't even begin to tell you. And you just hurt because you look at the way that we want to fracture ourselves from other humans.
Yeah.
And so many of us work our butts off just trying to separate ourselves from others. Please tell me why.
Yeah.
when the only way this ever works and the only way we ever beat the system, literally, is when we come together and we work together and we share those things you call gifts, which are our talents. And we share those with one another, and we use them for the betterment of the entire community and not just ourselves.
I mean, you have your personal traditions. And I get where a lot of people get that superiority complex because they're in a closed practice.
Yeah.
And most of the time, those people aren't trying to be superior to you. They're just telling you it's a closed practice. It's a familial tradition. And I'm sorry, you're not entitled to that knowledge.
Yeah.
And it's not a arrogant thing. Some people like to rub it in your face. But most people aren't. Most people are just trying to preserve that tradition with their family.
Yeah.
And what happens is when outsiders get in there and they have other ideas or they try to take control.
Or they think it would be better this way.
It destroys it.
Yeah, it does.
You know, so they protect that. They keep that sacred. As well as you should yours.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you can't share anything. That's up to you.
Yeah.
That's up to you. And how you help someone is up to you. Just be cautious that when you go, I'm going to do this because I'm this. I'm a third degree. Fuck off.
You know how infuriating it is when you've invited the family over for the holidays and you're in your kitchen cooking and your mother or your mother-in-law comes in and tells you you're doing it wrong and tries to take over.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same thing you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of the reasons that we're really funny about the practices that are hosted here. Because we do a lot of backgrounding on practices. You know, we'll look at it. We'll take a look at it. Sure, you can show us. That's fine. And then we'll take a look at it and see where it actually hails from and the historicity of it. And we'll try to vet out how it was actually used, you know, amongst the actual traditional people that first partook of that type of rite. And if we see the white girl all over it, we're done, because that's appropriation. Because when you start changing it and you start using that ceremony or that sacred item of, let's just talk about some of the herbs and stuff that we see, you know, the sacred smokes and stuff, and you start using them for shamanic practices that were never associated with it, that's white girl appropriation. And so we'll go, no, we're not going to do that here. People get their feelings hurt, but there's a reason for that, because we want you to understand when you're taking on these practices, why it's important to be true to them traditionally and keep the true nature of it part of the work. And if you're not mentioning it and you can't give a full history of it, you're not doing that here. You need to be able to outline where it came from, who it belongs to, why you do it now. You need to be able to show the work. It's like when you were doing math problems in school and the teacher made you show the work on 5 pages and how you arrived at the formula. We want the same thing from you.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to do those things here, you need to be able to show the work.
Yeah, and we tried. Like when we were so eager to have events that we let some people in that we shouldn't have.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, and
I think everybody makes that mistake.
That's called experience.
Yeah.
Right. You don't get experience by doing things correctly. You get experience by making mistakes, realizing you made a mistake.
Failure is
and
your
not
best
making
teacher.
That mistake anymore.
Yeah.
And so, that stuff won't be here anymore. If you are looking for that kind of thing, there's plenty of other areas or outlets or facilities where you can find a plethora of that kind of stuff.
Do I think you should do it out there either? No, I don't.
No,
because it's appropriation.
But we control these 4 walls.
Yeah.
And so that's it. You know, we're not gonna do that.
Like one thing, no matter what's legalized, you'll never see a fucking peyote ceremony here.
No.
That is so sacred.
Yeah.
And it is so, it pisses me off so bad how much we've lost in peyote down south because it's been overcultivated. It's been, I want to say, we're probably on the brink of extinction of the plant because of it.
And I think we've been too kind for a lot of these nonsensical things like starseeds and things. And you don't want to hurt people's feelings, and you don't want to be the one that is responsible for their shattering.
You just hate to see that look on their faces.
But
it kills you.
They're so convinced that they're superior, and you're not.
And they're so earnest because,
by the same token, we're not either.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't consider ourselves superior
No.
whatsoever. We're human. We make mistakes every day.
I'm a walking accident.
You know,
dude.
anybody that tells you any different is full of crap.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, well, you guys are witches. Yeah, and that's just a set of beliefs and
Not
practices.
something I call myself. I mean, you know.
That's because, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I just...
If anything, I'm a cunning person.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anything.
I'm John.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted,
Just
if you wanted to fucking label me, that's what I do. It's work cunning, herbalist. You know.
And I get a lot of the attraction to the esoteric and the occult is to be different.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're rebellious.
Yeah.
Right?
It feels so great in the beginning to fly in their face and make them mad.
But I want to
it's
tell you
detrimental.
that there's a lot more to it than that if you have an actual interest.
Yes.
If it's just a passing fad or a passing interest and then you move on to something else, hey, no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
But when you take that and try to monetize it, you know, it's like the what we talked about, the YouTube videos. Somebody's been riding motorcycles for 3 months and now they have a 10 top tips for motorcycling. They don't know shit about shit. And so the same thing with the esoteric.
Somebody call Keith Code. There's been a problem.
You have people that have very little experience and very little time, no mentorship, no anything, and they want to give other people tips.
Yeah.
Because it gets them clicks on social media. You know, it's not right.
It's not fair to the people watching you either, because it's fraud. It's fraud.
And here's the bad thing: there's an actual occult. She has a degree in it.
Yeah.
I think it's Serafina is her name.
I don't know.
She has so little views.
Yeah.
So little views, and when she does a episode post on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, it's really good.
Yes.
Like, this is really good
in-depth
information.
learning, yeah.
And she debunks, you know, so many things with facts, and she brings receipts. But you know, has the most clicks? The fucking dumbass who is telling you starseed shit. And they got hundreds of millions of fucking links because it's exciting and wow, look at that.
And most of it's fraud.
And it's all bullshit. You know?
Yeah.
So you need to be a little bit more discerning about where you get your information.
Yeah.
Just like you should interview a mentor, you should look at the author of a book too.
The whole witch talk trend has been so detrimental. I had another one walk in and tell me the other day, I've been doing my research and I can hex them without worry because, well, they hurt him. No. There were bad choices he made and bad relationships he had. And there were bad choices they both made together that were to the detriment of the relationship. And unfortunately, they had children together. And now you think you're going to hex her for him and that you're not going to get anything on you? I hate to tell you this, sister, but you're adjacent to that and so is he. So anything you do and anything that affects them and affects his children and affects that line of DNA, you're adjacent to it.
And, you know, it goes back. I think I saw a saying a while ago where they're like, new practitioner, they got, you know, all the latest stuff, the best athame, the best cloak.
Oh, yeah.
And I got to gather 355 different herbs together and I got to do this and that. And then you have the elder. Oh, I don't know. It'll fucking sort itself out. What's for dinner?
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of this stuff really does sort itself out.
It does.
Cosmic returns,
Yeah.
right? And we see people time and time again, especially people in elevated financial positions, get away with everything.
Yeah.
They never, ever face any consequences
Oh, but they will.
to anything they say or anything that they do or is dirty and corrupt or how many people they've hurt, how many businesses they've destroyed. They get away with it time and time and time again. And it's extremely frustrating to see a two-tier justice system in this country. It's very...
in the world, honestly.
But especially here.
Yeah.
Money rules the world in America, and you can literally write your own rules.
Yeah.
But those of us that have lived long enough, we have seen those things come to play.
Yeah.
And you want to leave somewhat of a legacy for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, most people want to be remembered for something positive.
Yeah.
what will they be remembered as?
Yeah.
I mean, we all knew who Napoleon was from our history books.
Yeah.
Now, whether that history
Do you think he wanted to be remembered that way?
was accurate or not, I'm sure it wasn't.
I don't think that was even in his head.
But
Yeah.
he will always be remembered as a traitor.
Yeah.
Or Benedict Arnold.
Benedict Arnold, you're thinking.
Yeah, and Napoleon was what, the coward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that's the legacy that they wanted? And so we have modern day examples of that, and it's not a far stretch for their name to become an adjective.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
As referencing someone who was vile.
Yeah, because people will call you a little Napoleon.
Remember, time.
And they'll say you have a Napoleon complex. And
time goes on and on and on. And what's important now won't be important in 20 years.
No.
Or what's not important now will be.
Yes.
And the best thing you can do, especially as a practitioner, is just be a decent person.
Yeah.
Have emotional intelligence with the people that are around you, whether you agree with them or not. Have some empathy and understanding.
Yeah.
Maybe you've never even gone through what they're going through.
And look, Karen, you don't need to correct them.
No. Most of the time, people just need to vent.
Yeah.
And get it off their chest.
Yeah.
Because no one else will listen to them. And is that exhausting behind the counter? Yes. Yes, it is.
Did I say that a little too quickly?
To get trauma dumped on for 8 hours is exhausting, but it's part of the gig. Mm-hmm.
My tree probably hates that.
Are there some?
I go to her every day oh, God.
Yeah, because it's heavy, right? A lot of people are going through some heavy shit.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are going through little tiny shit that they think is heavy shit.
Yeah.
They haven't got the heavy shit yet. But trust me, it's coming.
Yeah.
But when you set yourself up for failure by declaring yourself exceptional and above the general public because you subscribe to an alien fantasy land, or you find yourself esoterically superior to the rest of the race,
damn it, I want to be Anunnaki too.
You are really setting yourself up for a huge
letdown.
fall.
Mm-hmm.
And some people don't recover from those falls.
No, they don't.
And their ego gets so wrapped up into this identity.
Oh, yeah.
And the reality hits them eventually, and it's horrible.
Why did things not work? I am a god.
Yeah.
Why the hell did that feel so hard? Why did I lose everything? I'm a god. What the hell happened? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, it's like, it's the most bizarre thing in the world to see it and to watch it play out. But I want you to remember something. I've always asked this question when everything kind of went tits up for me in the past is, what the hell kind of person must I have been in a last life to have deserved this?
Yeah, what the hell did I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's tons of people that find themselves in the same situation.
Yeah. But remember, these guys you're seeing today with all these billions and billions and billions and getting away with everything, they're going to be thinking this in the next life too.
Yeah.
Because they're not learning what they need to learn to take it with them as they cross.
No.
The ideal aim is to be able to remember this life when you cross over and not forget it so that you don't have to repeat it.
Yeah.
That's the ideal aim. That conversation with the holy guardian angel, your higher self, preparing you for crossing over. So that you either come back somewhat enlightened and a helper, or don't come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're going to have to face that. And it's not judgment of God they're going to face. It's their own judgment of self.
Yeah. You're going to have to look at yourself.
The dark night of the soul.
That's one of the hardest things to do when you're starting this path is to take an honest look at yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And people don't want to do that. They want to put themselves on pedestals and look down on other people.
And they want easy, happy, shiny.
I just need a spell.
Or dark and oogity boogity. It's one way or the other. They never seem to find that happy medium.
Yeah. And it's really important to take that look at yourself and to honest look, not an egotistical look.
Yeah.
Look at the good and the bad and everything in between. And it shouldn't be a place where it brings you down, but it should be a place that gives you a reality check.
Yeah.
But before, the train hits the wall with some of these people in the way that they've been misled into thinking they're exceptional.
Yeah.
None of us are exceptional. We're just human.
It's spiritual psychosis. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to call it what it is. It's spiritual psychosis. And you're suffering it. And you're suffering it upon the people that you care about and the people that you want to care about you. And you're wondering why you're floundering. It's because you're suffering spiritual psychosis. And you need to let go of all that crap and just stand in the quiet, in the dark, in the woods, and look at who you actually are.
Yep.
Spend your quiet moments alone, sussing that out, and really being honest with yourself about where you are in life right now and where you want to see yourself in 10 years.
Yeah, you see a lot of the people too kind of manifest it, to use that ugly word, into, the people that are afraid to be alone.
Yeah.
People that cannot spend any time without being in a relationship or without being with a crowd. They thrive on other people being there.
Yeah.
And whether that's to show off or whether that's just they like to be in the company of people all the time because they're so fearful of being alone.
Absolutely.
That should tell you something, that you do need to spend some time alone and get to know yourself, because there's something gnawing at you if you're that afraid to.
And I've heard people say, but I don't like the thoughts that enter my head. That's, you don't like hearing your own voice in the quiet and the thoughts that come racing back to you and the fears and the pain and the anger. Those are the moments that you need to live through. That fear, that pain, that anger, you need to examine it. It's there. It's reminding you. It's your brain's way of reminding you that you need to examine this so you know what not to do next time, or you know what you did right this time. It's the brain's way of protecting you, and you're avoiding it. And it's just avoidant spirituality. And you can't avoid the self. I'm sorry. Every time you look in the mirror, self. Every time you look in somebody's eyes, mirror. So try to pay attention when you're talking to them and when you're taking the high and mighty road. What is their body like? What is their face like? What are their eyes actually saying to you? If they're kind of half turned to the side, they're trying to avoid you.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not looking at you, they're trying to avoid you. If they're staring at you, are they looking you in the eye, or are they looking right at your forehead? Because I've got an old interviewer trick that we used to do when we would do interviews with people, and they would try to stare you down, and tell you that all these lies. They think looking you in the eye keeps you from seeing the lie.
Mm-hmm.
Then I wouldn't look at their eyes. I'm looking at the way they're tilting their head. And I'm usually looking at their forehead. And I'm looking to see which way they're looking, and I'm looking at the way they're tilting their head, or I'm looking at their body movements. I'm looking at their shoulders rise and fall. And I'm looking for deception. So you got to ask yourself when you're having these conversations about how wonderful you are and about what an amazing, magical human being you are. Watch the other person's reaction to you. Watch the body language.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
I remember, way back when I first started practice, and I had gone through a divorce. It was ugly, and, been an orphan since I was 16, and life had been just, and so my answer to life from age 16 to about age 22 was to meet it aggressively head on. Mm-hmm. I was going to outfuck life.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
You've given me this bad bullshit to deal with, and fuck you. I'm going to be the biggest asshole you've ever seen. And
I think I went through that too.
I think, and a lot of that's hormones, and a lot of that's anger and frustration and resentment and all that stuff culminating. And I think what drew me to actual practice wasn't the ability to be better than anyone else. Is I needed some sense of purpose. Something to get me out of bed in the morning, because after the anger and rage, it went to massive depression to the point where I did not want to come out of the house. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to. Everything was boring, and the idea that there was more out there that was so much bigger than me, and so much information and knowledge about how to grow as a person and how to be a better person was very intoxicating, and that's what got my interest in books. It's what got interest in reminded me why I always felt the most comfortable in the woods,
Yeah.
alone. What divinity felt like, what it sounded like.
Absolutely.
And I became absolutely enamored with it. And it wasn't an egocentric thing. My ego was already shattered. I didn't feel superior. I felt quite the opposite.
Yeah.
And it gave me the ability to develop at my pace, to be a better person. Was I all successful? No, I still got a lot of work to do. But I'm better now because of the study. Yeah. I'm better now because of listening to elders that I respected, didn't always agree with, but I respected them. And some of the things that they passed on were incredibly useful.
Yeah.
I didn't maybe agree with their politics, but I agree with what their intent was.
Yeah.
What the baseline was. And that made a huge difference. And so that's why my taste in academic works developed. And I developed a complete rejection of anything that was fruity or fluffy or was just intended to make you feel a certain way temporarily or to sell the book.
Well, you saw right through it.
Well, you don't at first.
Yeah.
But then you develop that ability to literally judge a book by its cover and its bibliography.
You're like, look, oh, God. That little half moon just turns me in the other direction.
And they've gotten a lot better
Yeah.
than they were in the 90s.
Yes, they have. I like their complete series.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
But, people look at you like you're a book snob. Well, I'm a book snob for a reason, because if you're going to devote the time out of your life to read somebody's writing, then the writing needs to be worth your time.
Yeah.
And your time is limited. All our time is limited. So you need to choose who is going to be beneficial to your own growth.
Yeah.
And growth comes in a lot of ways, right? You make mistakes and you learn from them and you keep moving.
And you are who you surround yourself with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're around other people that are trying to convince you and that their way is the way,
Yeah.
then maybe
You're in the wrong place.
yeah, maybe look elsewhere, because if it's not helping you grow and develop, then it's probably either not doing anything or it's detrimental.
Yeah.
And it leads you down those starseed roads. And,
Well, I think it took you and I both years to stop hating Christians.
yeah. I had a lot of anger.
We were so berated and beaten and abused by them. I mean, literally, physically, mentally, emotionally abused by them, that it took us a long time to realize that they didn't come with a guidebook either, and they were just as brainwashed as everybody else around us. And
Yeah.
this was the only spirituality they'd ever known, and they really didn't know how to deal with it, and they were living in fear. And their fear turned them on us because they were afraid we were going down a bad path.
Oh, you're automatically a devil worshiper,
Yeah.
and you don't even believe in devils.
Yeah, at all.
It's not my.
And I was a more scientific kid, It was. I think you were too. I was really big on Carl Sagan and other worlds, and universes and galaxies, and
Absolutely.
there's something else out there, and this is not all there is. And I think it scared them to death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's fear of invalidation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they feel validated by practicing with their parents and grandparents practiced. So they're upholding the tradition, right? So it feels right. And they're doing things that in this religion, they don't even understand the real tenets of that or history of that religion.
The misinterpretations are rife.
And they rely on another human to dictate to them what their spirituality should be.
Yeah.
They rely on being told what to think, what to say. And it's very similar to what happens when inmates in a penitentiary become so used to the rigorous schedule inside a prison, being told when to eat, when to shower.
Discipline. Yeah.
And you get used to that. And it becomes a comfort zone. And that comfort zone becomes a trap.
Yes.
And you get institutionalized thinking, and so a lot of that Western religion comes from institutionalization of the mind. Well, my parents did it. Well, I did it. Well, But
Well, this is what the Reverend said. So
Yeah.
then you fall into logical fallacies like appeal to authority.
Right.
When your authority that you're putting all your faith and trust in really hasn't studied, or has studied and has other machinations behind the reason that they're saying these things.
Yeah.
But in my experience, I don't know about yours, down south, there was a preacher, there was a church on every corner, and a person could appoint themselves a pastor. They didn't have to have any schooling. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Like when you
Absolutely.
met somebody that actually been to seminary or something like that, it was kind of amazing, kind
Yeah.
of impressive. Like the Lutheran priest that I was friends with, he was incredibly learned
Yeah.
and like very open to every faith, and and embracing, and could talk at length for hours on mythologies and spirituality, different spiritualities. And he was like a bright light for me very early on. Like, wow, you
Yeah.
know, we talked about Lucifer. That was incredible.
Yeah.
And we talked about the Mesopotamians when you meet that. But most of them that you do meet, I'm going to say that they are probably people like him in the faith, are probably a very low percentage. Maybe, if I'm being generous, 20% of the people in the faith. Most of them are just doing it by rote themselves, because their parents either wanted them to be a preacher and kind of talked them into the notion from the moment they were baptized, and they think that that's the road they're supposed to be on, or they were raised going to those religious schools and continued their education, and that's just the only thing they've ever known, and they're trying to keep the status quo. And the other thing that I've heard from, you remember the bishop, what he said is that I do this because I love the people, not because I believe all of its tenets.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was mind-blowing to me.
Oh, it was honesty.
Yeah, it was honesty.
And I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, we don't have any, at this age and time, I don't have any misgivings about anyone practicing anything that brings them
No, if it brings them
fulfillment.
comfort and joy, yes.
Yeah. What we were talking about earlier is when they take it a step further and they have a superiority complex. And a lot of our parents and grandparents had a superiority complex.
Oh, it was terrible.
Instilled in them because of institutionalized thinking.
Yeah.
And so when you challenge that, you're challenging the whole institution in their mind. And they might have just lived 70 years wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
And look at the families that are torn asunder because those of us that decided it's not for me and really didn't have any intent on hurting anyone's feelings, we were just tired of being pressured into thinking along their modality.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit with me.
And the challenge was more than they could bear.
And they can't take that challenge to the validity of their practice. Look, if the practice is valid for you, whether it's institutionalized or not, and it brings you joy and it brings you comfort, then great.
Yeah.
The problem is when you try to put that thinking onto someone else. And it doesn't matter if it's your child. You don't have a right to dictate to them what they believe.
No.
Now, if they're
not your mini-me.
If they're on a dangerous path, like we were talking about, but even then, it's their lesson to learn.
Yes, it is.
It's not yours. And if they're intent and determined to make the mistake and to continue down that path, it's their lesson to learn.
Yeah.
All you can do is be there for them, and be available should they go, oh God, I have been such an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have been, but it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We all get the wrong ideas in our head. We're all human. We're all fallible. And it's just a lesson to learn.
Yeah.
It was just your lesson to
And
learn.
it happens in more than just religion. It happens in left and right wing groups. It happens in cults for various reasons. Like you even see like cults for things like Amway. That was a complete and utter cult. This happens. People drift over there and the family gets concerned and they get worried. The worst thing you can do is stage an intervention. You just set that person's teeth completely against you.
Absolutely.
And you just push them further and further away. It's like I try to tell Christians, don't preach to people. You're pushing them away.
Yep.
You're look at them. Look at the complete blank expression on their face when you start your bullshit.
Yeah.
And you've just lost them.
Deeds, not words.
Yes, you've just lost them.
Show me.
Talk to them about your love.
Yeah.
Talk to them
Show
about
me
your
how
joy.
much you care about your fellow man.
Yes, exactly.
Don't stand on a street corner with a megaphone shouting down to the rest of us because you're superior.
In a roll full of Donalds, be a Jimmy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Deeds, not words. And that's the part that they miss because they want validation. They want it so badly to be validated in their belief system, no matter how cruel it's been.
Yeah.
They want to know that they're in the right.
Yeah.
And again, exceptionalism.
And I see people talking about the former president who's about to be laid to rest. And they're talking about the things he did when he was in office. There's a lot of things that these presidents, including the one coming in, do in office that was already set in motion by the president that they're taking over for, that they can't do shit about because there's this thing called executive order. And it's already done, and that's in stone, and you must proceed with it because it's already entered into the document, and there's no getting away from it. There's no subverting it. So you keep on the path, and then you just try to do things in your term as president that are better for the people than what was left to you that you had to do. I start thinking about things like Sandinistas and the things that happened there, and things that happened to the Haitians, and the things that presidents coming in had no choice over. Because it was already pretty much written in stone that it had to be done, it had to be handled this way. And then they go on after the presidency and show what a decent human being they are by their works. Don't judge a person by 4 years of their life. Don't judge your child by 4 years of theirs. Their high school years, they went a little crazy, they went a little off the rails, ruined their chances at college. They're learning who they are.
Yeah.
They're learning who they are. Watch them. And watch them grow, and don't try to push them in either direction. When you push too hard in one direction, they're always going to go the opposite direction. That's just human nature, to push back. I'll show you. I'll be exactly who I want to be.
Yeah.
If people had stopped fighting me for a minute, my life would have been a lot different.
Yeah.
And if I had seen with the wisdom that I now have, having grown through it and having suffered it and having watched it, if I could have seen that at 16, I'd be a totally different person.
Oh, absolutely. Same.
Let them be and understand. It's like somebody said, it's not our lesson to learn with regard to this election. It's their lesson to learn too. It's not ours. It's theirs, and they will learn. And it is hard, and it's never as easy as they think it is, just because they've got moneyed people behind them. Because what they don't think about and they don't take into account is the older money on the other side that has always been quiet. The older money who you're now starting to challenge with your words and your bravado. The older money who has been sitting behind the scenes for generations.
Mm-hmm.
That are now starting to perk up and listen and go, oh, do you think so?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It'll be the undoing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the universe is self-correcting.
Mm-hmm.
It just is.
Yeah.
And we can say universe for lack of a better term.
Yeah. She's got a funny fucking sense of humor.
It is self-correcting.
Yeah, yeah.
And just like, we're learning lessons on a microcosmic level.
Yeah.
There are things moving in a macrocosmic level.
Yes.
And times change and ages come and go.
Yeah.
And we all talked about the age of Aquarius being enlightenment. Well, you're seeing the death throes of patriarchal thought, the death throes of misogyny and bigotry. And I think we have to go through this.
Yes. There's this old saying that holds true. It's always darkest before the dawn.
Yeah, I don't want to go through it.
Yeah,
I don't think
either, but you
anybody
have to.
does, and especially if you're a marginalized community, you definitely don't want to go through it.
No.
But I think in order for the collective conscience to actually develop into something with any modicum of respect
And decency?
and decency, we have to go through this final death throw of awful behavior. And horrible thinking.
Yeah. And we'd like to say it's the death of decency, but it's not. We see decent people every day.
Every day, from all walks of life and all faiths and traditions, or no faith and no tradition.
Get out of your house and away from your echo chamber and get out here in public and don't let them scare you. And meet these people. Some of the most beautiful people walk into your life in this store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. And you have the best and most endearing conversations, and you laugh and you cry, and there are amazing people all around you, and you're not going to know that if you don't get the hell off your phone and the hell off your computer and your video game and get out and meet them.
Absolutely.
And we're trying to nation build here and community build because everything's in turmoil, and we're going to need each other really, really badly. So get out and take care of your brother and sister. Get out and meet your frickin' brother and sister, because As the natives say, we're all related. We're all related, and we all hail from one common ancestor. The hell with your hate for melanin. We all hail from there.
Yeah.
You know, and evolutionarily speaking, you need to learn some science. And you need to let that shit go that's separatist, and let that shit go that makes you think that males should dominate and females should just take a back seat and bring you a sandwich.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
I make the sandwiches.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And you need to learn that we are all one race, all one tribe. And the only way you're going to know this for sure, and no, I'm not lying, is if you get out and find out for yourself. Go outside.
Yeah, and I think developing the mindset from study also gives you an ability to see through a lot of bullshit. You know, it's translatable skill.
Yes.
You know, because if you can learn who to listen to, who to read, that translates into present day too.
Yeah, it does.
So when you're seeing things that are meant to alarm you, or meant to trigger you, or meant to make you have a certain emotion, you can recognize it for the manipulation that it is.
Yes.
And if you want to talk about powers and superpowers, that's kind of a superpower. And that only comes from actually doing the work yourself, keeping your ego in check, and the development of yourself. Yeah. And then you will start to see the bullshit.
You'll learn to see patterns.
Right at the door. Yeah. It won't even be able to get in the door.
Yeah.
And no.
Yeah.
No.
And all behavior has a pattern. All of it.
Learn to recognize those patterns and act accordingly.
Yeah.
And
nature has patterns too, and when you learn those, the whole magical world awakens for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you start to see that movement in nature, and you start to recognize what's coming. And to that end, I want to mention, look up the Y chromosome is disappearing, and tell me that evolution doesn't know exactly what she's doing.
Oh, absolutely.
And then look at why whole groups evolve, and they evolve differently from previous groups, and it's to sustain the species. It's to sustain and protect the species. So now, I want you to look back at the history of the world and tell me why the Y chromosome is disappearing. Take a look.
Mm-hmm. And with that note, that's about it time for us.
Yes, go outside.
We got a store to open.
Love you guys. Love each other. Spend some time together. It's the only way.
Love y'all.
Love you.
So we hope you enjoyed this episode of In the Weeds, and we hope you didn't have to pick too much pucker brush off your cloak after visiting with us here. If you liked the episode, please follow, subscribe, and share. And if you're really kind, leave a positive review. Be sure to tune in next week as we publish a new episode weekly. If you're in the area, stop by the store and see us. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great day.